Good morning. Mantras are powerful tools that help us to cope with stress or difficult situations. They may be used to invoke positive energy and dispel negative thoughts or to direct meditation. Many people employ a mantra or an affirmation when striving to reach a certain goal. Peter's mantra in today's scripture reading could have been, "Every journey starts with a single step." Peter reached out in faith when he stepped out of the boat, but faltered when he lost sight of Jesus. Peter still had a long way to go on his faith journey. However, Jesus was right there to prop him up along the way. Thinking about this scripture and the direction I think Gina will take with her message brought up a certain time in my life. What turned out to be my last year of work was spent in Texas. My company decided in August of 2020 that all financial operation positions would be relocated to the headquarter building in Dallas. We were told that we could either move to Dallas by a certain date or leave the company. Over half of the team that I worked with in Chicago chose to leave the company. I moved to Dallas the week of Thanksgiving 2021. Kevin and I made a road trip out of it, stopping at a couple of attractions along the way. Then we had the task of setting up my apartment and getting everything situated before we flew to San Francisco to visit our son Eli, his partner Paul, and Kevin's brother Norbert. It was a whirlwind of activity before the holiday, putting together furniture and running to the store for various necessities. So maybe a tiny bit of it was exciting. After our trip to San Francisco, Kevin flew back home to Chicago, and I flew to my new home in Dallas. The next couple of weeks felt like an extended business trip. I enjoyed reconnecting with folks who I'd worked with for years, but rarely seen in person. People were in a festive mood because of the upcoming holiday, and there were several after-work events during that time. Before I knew it, it was time to fly home for Christmas with my family. I went back to Dallas early in January 2022, and that's when reality hit. Being away from my family was difficult for both them and me. Weekly phone calls with my dad were not the same as seeing him in person as I had been doing for the past 10 years. His mental acuity was declining, and he didn't always remember the last time we had spoken. But he did know I wasn't there, and he often expressed concern during our calls that I wasn't able to visit him. I repeatedly said this to myself, a mantra: he's where he needs to be, I'm where I need to be. Unfortunately, my dad's health also declined during the year. But fortunately, my bosses were flexible with my schedule. So I was able to work from home for an extended period during September 2022 and was able to be with him during the last week of his life. Our youngest grandchild at the time, Lila, had been born January 1st, 2022. Her mother, our daughter Kirsten, faithfully sent me a picture of Lila every Friday. I treasured those pictures as well as the Valentine cards I received from my older grandchildren. Kevin and I had a standing time to talk each week and catch up, and I kept in touch with my kids and their spouses through texts and calls. And there was a fabulous weekend when they all came to Texas to see the Bears play the Dallas Cowboys. Still, I was often lonely, so I had this mantra: I have the power to control my own happiness. At work, I had been given a team to supervise that was the most challenging group of people I had ever worked with during my entire career. They oversaw an area of accounting that I wasn't familiar with. They had several problems which were uncovered in previous audits, which I was expected to fix. And the team members were all located in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm trying to get to know the team members who didn't trust us corporate people over the phone, learn the accounting, and get them to change how they're doing things. So some more mantras. I will figure this out. And work smarter, not harder. The culture in Dallas was much different from the culture in Chicago. There seemed to be a lot of emphasis on who had how much money, who was connected to whom in upper management, and who had the inside track on office gossip. I was an outsider since I was a transplant and didn't always fit in. So a couple more mantras came in. I am enough as I am. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I was reading Lamentations the other day, and the following passage reminded me of that year. It's from chapter 3, verses 19 and 20, where Jeremiah is talking about the exile in Babylon. He says, "The thought of my suffering and homelessness is bitter beyond words. I will never forget this awful time." But Jeremiah doesn't stop there. He goes on to say in verses 21 through 24, "Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. I say to myself, the Lord is my inheritance. Therefore I will hope in him." I found that hope at University Park United Methodist Church in Dallas. I went to several churches before I discovered University Park, and all I can say is that as soon as I attended my first Sunday morning worship service there, I knew I had found my home away from home church in Dallas. The pastor, noticing that I was new to the congregation, sought me out after service. She and I spoke about my situation, which was somewhat transient since I did travel home as much as possible. And she assured me that I was welcome to participate whenever I could. 2022 was a rough year, and like Peter, I faltered when I lost sight of Jesus. I let myself fall into depression, anger, self-pity more than once. I'm so grateful to the people of University Park UMC and for my time there. I was able to sing in the choir, attend Bible study and small group gatherings, and those activities helped me to get back to a better frame of mind. Paul says in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, "Don't stop meeting together with other believers. Instead, encourage each other." We do this when we worship together, when we support each other through good times and bad with prayer, conversation, and food. Doing these things is not only encouraging, but it also allows us to share the grace and truth of Jesus with each other. I've said before that a reason I come to church is because of the connection that I feel to other believers. That connection grounded me during my year in Texas, and it continues to ground me today. My circumstances changed late in 2022 so that I was able to retire in December and come home for good. Kevin and I now can talk to each other whenever we want, and we're caught up all the time. I love living in McHenry, and I've made new friends here at First United Methodist Church. I spend as much time with my children and my grandkids as I can. So, let me end with these mantras. All's well that ends well, and good things come to those who wait. Welcome to worship. We're so glad you're here.